So today again we're going to be working on solving equations with rational numbers in them. So to start the lesson here, with 15 equals y divided by 2 again. So we look at the side with the variable, and right now we're dividing by 2, so we need to multiply by 2. Go ahead and write that as a ratio. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Here on this side, we can just divide or multiply by 2. Because we just have a whole number over here. So go ahead and cancel your 2's. Those will both be 1's. And so we get y is equal to 30, which then we can check our answer. 30 divided by 2 is 15, so that works. So our answer is y equals 30. So for this problem, notice here I've given this space for us to work with. So when you work on this assignment, on your notebook paper, make sure that you give yourself that room to work. We are multiplying 2/3 times z, so instead of dividing by a fraction, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal or the inverse, so multiply by 3/2. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. We'll multiply by 3/2. So what we notice here is the 3's are going to cancel, the 2's will cancel, and I'm left with z. So z equals, now here we notice we do have a mixed number, so let's go ahead and multiply 4 times 4, then we got to add the 16 to the 1. So we're going to have 17/4 times 3/2. And now we can look to see if we can simplify anything. I noticed that I'm not able to simplify anything at all, so I multiply straight across, and 4 times 2 is 8, and 17 times 3, if you need a calculator, you can pull one out. Otherwise, 7 times 3 is 21, and 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, so 51/8. Now we need to get this regrouped into a mixed number. So we can go z is equal to, now let's figure out how many wholes we can make. Well, I know that 6 times 8 is 48. So I'm going to go 8 times 6, so that'll give me 48. So I subtract the 48, and that'll give me that 6 whole, and I have 3 left over. So I'm going to have 6 and 3/8. And I can't simplify that any further, so that is my final answer right there. So 6 and 3/8, because 8 times 6 is 48, so I subtract the 48, and I had 3 left. 6 tells me how many whole I was able to make. So for example, 3, again, look at this side of the variable. Instead of dividing by 3/4, we will multiply by 4/3. Whatever you do to one side, make sure you do to the other. So multiply by 4/3. Then we can go ahead and put this over 1, so it is as a ratio. The 4's here will cancel, the 3's will cancel, so I'm left with y is equal to, now we can look to simplify here. 3 goes into 27 9 times, and it goes into 3 once, so we can get 9.1. This does work out nicely because 1 times 1 is 1, so I just have to do the 4 times 9.1. So if you want to, you can pull your calculator out. We go 9.1 times 4, and that's equal to 36.4. So y is equal to 36.4. And if you want to check that out, we can go back to your calculators. We have 36.4 already entered in our calculators. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 3/4. And then what's another way to write 3/4? We can multiply by 0.75, and that equals 27.3, and that gives me my answer right here. So for example 4, an architect needs to make a scale drawing of a home. The width W of the home in the drawing in inches is given by the equation W divided by 0.6 equals 9.5. So what is the width of the home? So we want to find what is W. So W divided by 0.6 equals 9.5. So we want to multiply by 0.6 on both sides. So multiply by 0.6. Over here I wrote it as a ratio. Over here I didn't because we didn't have a ratio. So 0.6 is cancel. I'm left with W is equal to, now again, we can jump to our calculators. So we can go 9.5 times 0.6, and that equals 5.7. So our width is 5.7. Now don't forget your units. So we have in inches. So 5.7 inches is our final answer. Now go ahead and check your answer. We already have 5.7 in for W. So now let's just divide by 0.6 to see what we get. And that does equal 9.5. So this worked out for us. For example 5, Samantha answered 4/5 of the questions on the science quiz correctly. If she answered 8 questions correctly, how many questions were on the quiz? So we can say 4/5 of, okay, of, remember, means multiplies of the questions. So I'm going to say 4/5 of Q, the questions, is 8. So now to solve, we don't want to divide by 4/5. Let's go ahead and multiply by 5/4. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Multiply by 5/4. Go ahead and change your 8 to 8 over 1. Our 5s are going to cancel. Our 4s will cancel. And I'm left with Q is equal to, now I can simplify my 4 to a 1, my 8 to a 2. When I multiply, I'm going to get 10 over 1, or just 10. So 10 questions would be my correct answer, or from our choices above, C would be the correct answer. Now another way to do this, because this is a multiple choice question, you could try some of these answers. So if she answered 8 questions correctly, how many questions were on the quiz? Well, A and B do not even make sense. If she answered 8 questions correctly, how could there only be 2 questions on the quiz? How could there only be 6 questions on the quiz? So A and B don't make sense at all. So pretty much you're only checking between C and D. So when we're taking NWEA tests and MCA type tests, sometimes they throw in answers that do not make sense whatsoever. It's important to identify that and make sure you just cross those out. And then you could think, well, you could even draw a picture with something like this, because they do give us choices. So again, 4/5, so this section, this one, and this one equal 8 questions. Well, you know that there's another part here, so if we counted, there are 4 sections, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, that means this last section would be a 2, so there would be 10 total questions. So I'll ask you another question. What percent did she get on this quiz? Can you change this into a percent? If you can, let me know what Samantha scored on this quiz tomorrow. For example 6, Jeffrey selected 5/6 of the baseball cards in a pack to trade with his friends. If he selected 15 cards, how many cards were in the pack? So again, 5/6 of baseball cards. So I'm going to say 5/6 times B, and he selected 15 cards. All right, so now we need to divide by 5/6, but we don't divide by 5/6. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, 6/5. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so let's cancel out our 6s and our 5s. We're left with B, and let's write 15 as 15 over 1. Let's cancel our 5 and make it a 1. 15 will go to a 3 because we're dividing by 3. Now I can multiply straight across. We can say 18 cards were in the pack. So 5/6 of the baseball cards in a pack. So that means he selected 15. So 5/6 is really close to a whole. So it does make sense that 15 is really close to 18 cards in order to make that whole. So that's our answer there, 18 cards. That brings us to our last example. If you'd like to see more examples on solving equations with rational numbers in them, check out the online tutors. Also be sure to check the step-by-step homework helper for any additional questions.